everybody, a warm welcome to another interview on Wisdom from North. I'm Janneke, and today I'm really honored, I gotta say, to be here with Victor Oddo again. Victor is a spiritual teacher who helps people in their awakening and ascension process. And on his very popular YouTube channel, his mission is to empower awakening souls through the challenging transition into the fourth density. Hello, Victor. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on here with you as well.
I'm very excited to speak with you, and I want to say, for those of you who are new to Victor, you can watch our other interview that I put down here in the video description, where we talk all about Victor's awakening and his story. But today, Victor, I'd love to speak about what we're going through right now, 2020, coronavirus, and moving into a whole new time. And I reached out to you in February because I had a huge breakdown, and I started doing research because I hadn't been looking so much into what's going on in the stars. So it came a bit like a shock to me. And I realized that something spiritual was going on. I felt it wasn't something psychologically, or it was like everything I had worked with was just shattered into pieces. I felt like 1,000 pieces, and I got through it, but I really wanted to address it. And then the coronavirus came. So I kind of experienced it internally and then externally, in a sense. And then I saw a video with you where you talked about 2020 and explained a lot to me. And then I realized, whoa, 2020 is a big year, and I wasn't aware of that. So can you say a little bit about what you think 2020 is about? Because I know that you have your own downloads. I know that you are into astrology, and you also call this 2020 the year of purification. So yes, so what do you think is going on right now?
Yeah, wow. As I think we're already seeing, there's a whole lot going on in 2020. So I'll address this question in a couple of ways. It's going to be a bit different for people like you and people who watch your channel and watch mine. People who are kind of tapped in to this wave of awakening and have been going through the process for a little while. For us, those doing the work, it's going to be a deepening of that same essential awakening process. And I think a lot of us are going to feel a real deep, sort of an awareness that our spirit's coming in and saying it's time to really express another deeper level of yourself. And that sounds great, but that can imply a career change and imply big direction changes in our lives. So for us, it can be kind of full of what's initially perceived as upheaval, but it's really just our resistance to the change, the positive change that's coming into our life, because the world needs the people who've been doing the work to go deep and to really shine that light. Because as we're seeing, now it's the whole planet's waking up. The whole planet is going through these waves of healing that me and you have been going through for quite a while. Now we're seeing that on this huge scale. So for them, obviously, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be no one really knows what to do. No one knows that they can sort of learn from all these challenges and grow and expand and deepen their spiritual connection. So I think it's our job as the light workers to kind of just be there, be calm, do our thing, and then hopefully allow the rest of the planet to have as smooth of a transition into this higher consciousness as possible. But generally speaking, it doesn't take a second to even say wow, there's a lot going on in the collective, a lot of real big things that capture the attention of everybody, so we can all again sort of tap into these rhythms of healing and expansion. So there are many tangents I could go on, but that's the gist, I would say.
Right. And let's go deeper into it. And you also said that you had been going through a breakdown. I heard a video where you said you had been to Rythmia, and I said to you right before, I've been following you and Aaron Doughty, that I also have interviewed the videos you've done with at Rythmia and the plant medicine, and you went to, I think, what's his called? Tony Robbins as well.
Tony Robbins, yeah.
Yeah, and still after that you felt that you hadn't integrated it, or somehow you didn't feel aligned. And that was exactly what I was feeling. So can you share a little bit about your own process in this?
Yeah, I would say I can see what's been happening in my own life more clearly now. At the time, it seemed like I was going through a lot of confusion, and I was sort of aligning myself with a lot of things that sort of provoke a deep healing, like going to Rythmia, it's an ayahuasca retreat. That's a very deep, sort of cathartic, souls, very intense process. And then right after that, I went to Rythmia or the Tony Robbins event. It's like another 6 days of intense like inner work, and I can see now in retrospect, like my life was sort of shifting around to get me to come to terms with the fact that it's time for me to go in a bit of a new direction. And I was sort of building up this momentum in this particular trajectory as Victor, the YouTube guy, the guy on social media, and building, an internet business. And now it's like, that's great. It served a purpose, but now we want you. Now it feels like my soul or whatever is saying like it's time to kind of pull back a little bit and be with the family. Allow my wife, who's also coming into her own power, to kind of go out there a little bit. And I'd like to kind of write and be a little bit behind the scenes and work with people more deeply, like at retreats and coaching, instead of being like this big content producer guy helping people on sort of only on a surface levels. Anyway, that sounds like no big deal, but for me, there was an attachment to Victor the YouTube guy. So it really took a lot of inner work and the feeling that you described, where like my whole world felt like it was crumbling, and I felt like I don't know who I am anymore. But it was all to kind of say, you just got to close this chapter and open up this new one. It's going to be good. So,
Yeah.
but I'm feeling good now. But at the time, it was like, what's happening?
Yeah, I think it's so great that we talk about it, because once I did my YouTube video about it and started speaking to my members, they were like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're addressing it, because I thought I was going crazy. And I think a lot of people thought at that time, like especially sensitive empaths, thought that I'm doing something wrong, like I'm going mad here. And that is like the danger of being alone, and that's why I'm always so about talking about things. And I just had to come to that place where I was like strong enough to talk about it and to be able to own it, instead of like feeling shame or I should have not felt this or that. But I think, the longer I've come in my journey, the more I can just honor everything that's going on and accept everything that's going on, and lose all those labels of how a spiritual person is going to be. And that I find that so interesting. I had that years ago. Like I had this picture of how a spiritual person is going to be, like being this perfect, like really calm person. And I still get comments about like me, like being very like using my arms and stuff like that. But I think the more you the more you expand, the more you like can room so much more of the process that is either not this or not that, or you don't have to be or feel a certain way. Everything is spiritual, like, and whatever comes up is right for you in the moment. So yeah, that took me some time to get to.
Yeah, me too. I used to swear a lot on my YouTube channel. I sometimes would drink alcohol and wine. I like wine. I do a lot of these things that go against the grain of normal spiritual teacher guy behaviors. But I think like what I've learned about spirituality, it really is just stripping away and sort of embracing that authenticity. And our true authentic spirit is not bound to these stereotypical labels of what we should and should not do as spiritual people. It's silly. That's all like mind drama. So I think it's cool to see people breaking the rules and just being their true selves.
Yeah.
That's what I think spirituality really means anyway. But I know it can be tough sometimes, especially being in the spiritual community as we both are, where sometimes there's a feeling of I need to be a certain way, otherwise they're not going to like me or something,
Right.
But the only way is just to be ourselves, and then whoever is meant to be there will be there.
I know, so super important not to make spirituality into another religion. That's like the last thing we want to do, right? So back to 2020, you talk a lot about, it's some sort of spiritual reports that I feel like you're giving, or some reports of what's going on in the stars. So can you tell us a little bit about what is going on in the stars, and if that's, how that's reflected now on the planet?
Yeah, so the way I do my energy updates, it's most people think I'm like really into astrology, which ironically I'm not. I don't study astrology. I have astrologer friends. They sometimes talk to me and tell me stuff, but all what I do are literally just like, I call them energy updates, and they are just more like intuitive channeled messages. So what I feel right now is that the planet has been, as best we can, adjusting to this circumstance. And the initial response, of course, was fear and a bit of panic and concern. Where is this going? How's it going to turn out? No one knows. There's that fear, that uncertainty. But given the human being a little while, we adjust, we adapt, and we start to kind of like just adapt to the situation. And I feel like in the near future, at least people internally are going to start coping more effectively and realizing, you know what? Stuck at home, almost out of toilet paper. I'm going to make the best out of the situation. I'm going to connect with my family. I'm going to, dust off the spiritual books, the Bible, whatever you're into. I'm going to turn inward. I'm going to like tune out of the fear and sort of the negativity. And I really think this situation is going to have a very powerful transformative effect on people on a very large scale. But if we allow ourselves to just focus on what's happening, or at least what the news says is happening, then we can easily get tangled up in that vibration of fear and panic and, oh my God, what's going to happen? But we can also choose to kind of tune out and frame this experience in our own way and put it in the context that we prefer to. And then from there, we can remain in like a good space inside and then just continue on with life and do the best we can. Like for me, I've seen it as a good opportunity to start writing my book and to spend time with the family and to like count my blessings and maybe like also appreciate some of the things I have now that like finances aren't flowing the way they normally are. I gotta like, okay, I gotta. So it's like making me more mindful, more mature. There's all these benefits coming out of this. And I think that's going to be happening even though it's not being broadcasted on the news. I think a lot of people are going to be growing and becoming stronger, more mature human beings very quickly. And then you can imagine the implications of that, a planet full of people who are coming into their power and starting to see the writing on the walls and finding their purpose. It's going to be amazing. But I think what we're seeing is just the events that need to happen to spark that transformation. So on the surface, it's like, oh my God. But I see it as part of a huge transformative like cycle we're now in.
Right, and I heard in a video that you were saying that we're now in the fifth density or dimension. I'm not quite sure if that's two different things actually. The fifth dimension or fifth density, or yeah.
Yeah, well, those are a bit different. I would say I don't know if I said exactly that we're in the fifth dimension. What I really feel like is happening is that the vibration on the planet is increasing. And we're slowly building up to the point where there'll be a shift into this new level of consciousness. People call it the fifth dimension, but it's really not a place. It's more of a state of consciousness, a state of mind. And I see like the reason for all this upheaval and these events is because the vibrations are so high. It's causing all these lower energies and structures created from them to kind of break down and sort of like just get kicked up like a purge. So I see like all that's happening. Not that I'm happy, not that I'm insensitive to what's happening with a lot of people, but I see it as a positive, as an inevitable cleansing effect of the higher frequencies, bringing again to the surface those energies that no longer resonate with the new vibrations. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like kind of two out there.
Yeah, that made a lot of sense. So in a sense, you're saying that the energies are so high, just to like understand, so high right now, and those lower energies cannot survive in that new environment or frequency that the planet or Gaia has moved into, in a sense, or yeah?
Exactly, yeah. Wow. It's very similar to an ayahuasca experience. And ayahuasca, not trying to impose it on people, but it's like a plant medicine that you drink, and it temporarily will increase your frequency a lot. And what that does, it causes people to throw up and to feel all these intense emotions. And though that's not a fun experience, it's like afterwards, once you've adjusted to the new frequency, you're like, wow, there's all this clarity, all this healing. You're like a new person. So I see that happening kind of collectively.
Right. Do you have any feelings of how long this will last? Like, is it a year now, or is this going to continue for some years before things like really get better? Because a lot of spiritual teachers are talking about the good things that will come, but like, how long will this last? I know it's difficult to say something about timing, but is it like, I guess I'm wondering about, is it 2020 that was the big year, or is this like just the start of a challenging decade?
Yeah, you know what? I honestly don't think we're meant to know. I think not knowing how this is going to play out and when it's going to end is going to really allow us to embrace the moment. So personally, I don't have a strong sense of a duration. Maybe there are people who do. I do feel that it's going to be longer than people prefer because I think there's a lot of work we have to do. There's a lot of darkness that does need to kind of get kicked up and cleansed. But I think that we'll be able to find joy and harmony in the storm, in the healing. Like right now, like we're talking here, there's a lot of crazy things going on, but we're just chilling. We're having a good conversation. We're spreading light in our own way. And in this moment, we are happy. We're content. And I think that a lot of people are going to learn to find peace amidst the storm. And the more people that can do that, the more the storm will kind of subside. But how long, that depends on all of us, I suppose.
Right. And you also said in the video that this is the time to forgive. This is the time to release the burden around your heart and connect with beings especially. Is that, why is that this is the time?
Well, it's like it's an opportunity. On one hand, again, there's a lot of challenges sort of being experienced, but it's also where the ability to tap into our higher consciousness has never been easier and smoother. So if we can just sort of like choose to hone our focus into things that bring us joy and peace and love, like maybe our spirit guides, if that's what you're into, or your higher awareness, your deceased loved ones, whatever it is, it's going to be a lot easier. And we can realize that we're really not alone, that when we tune into ourselves and just sort of have a sincere desire to experience like the divine in our own life, it will start to show up. And whereas before, when the planet was at a lower frequency, it was harder for those other aspects of us to kind of come through in a real way. But now, not so much. Now it really just, most people can have a pretty neat little experience if they really want to in their heart. So it's just a different way of looking at the situation. You can succumb to the darkness, or you can go inside and discover more about yourself.
Right. So the veil is, in a sense, thinner now. It's like awakening is available for more people.
Yes, that's one way to put it, yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I'd love to speak a little bit about your ayahuasca experience, if you'd like to share, since you openly shared it on your YouTube channel and you went to Rythmia. Was this something that you had been wanting to do for a long time, been studying, or did it come as an impulse? Or I'd love to hear about, why that was the next step in your spiritual development.
Sure, I'd love to. Yeah, for me, it was it kind of fell into my lap. It was I was invited to go to this place called Rythmia in Costa Rica, and if I was to promote them and sort of like give them a good testimonial, they would let me go for free. That was like the agreement. So I was like, okay. At first, I said no. I was like, no, I can't get away for a week. I got the kids. And then my friend Aaron Dowdy, he's like, well, I got invited. Why don't you go? And my wife was like, Vic, dude, go, man. So I was like, I guess. But so once I so it kind of fell into my lap, and once I decided to go, I started researching it, and then the information I was finding it just resonated, and I started to kind of have this knowing this is like the next step in my path. I don't know what it's going to be about. A lot of crazy experiences, depending on who you ask, but it feels right. And for me, it's been very helpful. But having gone through the experience, I can see it's not really for everybody. It's not necessary. It's just one of the many earth tools that we can use for healing and growth, and the ayahuasca, for whatever reason, just works well with me and has just helped me in many ways become like a better person. I've healed a lot of my conditioning, and I've become a better father. I feel like I'm just more of a heart-centered person. A lot of like really neat benefits have come from the ayahuasca experiences for me.
So can you tell a little bit about what they do or how they do it? And I know there are ceremonies, and there are, like you said, purging, and that's like getting rid of resistance and what's in the way, in a sense, in order to open up and release and let go. So I'd love to hear a little bit about, how a ceremony goes like.
Sure. It's very intriguing, I must say. It's definitely like, when I was in high school, I would take like magic mushrooms with my buddies, and we'd kind of hang out and have fun. It's not like that at all. It's like a serious thing where you have very experienced shamans or medicine people who have spent most of their life working with the plants and have a real intimate connection with like the spirits of the plants, believe it or not. And those are the people who sort of facilitate the ceremony. And it's done in a very ceremonial setting where the way I would do it is I would talk to the shaman and share my intention with them, and they kind of take it all in.
Yeah, because because it seems like intention is very important. I've seen some of your videos about it.
It is, because they call it the medicine, the ayahuasca. It really just sort of sheds light. It's like experiencing for a little while a very expanded state of consciousness. And you can look anywhere. You can look at your darkness. You can look at your light. You can talk to your spirit guides. It really doesn't matter. So having an intention is very strong. Now, with that said, it's going to seem a little paradoxical, but the medicine, whenever you work with it, it really feels like you're working with a spirit. Like the ayahuasca, to my perception and many others, it's like a higher intelligent sort of being that guides you through these experiences, and it'll bring stuff up for you to look at. Fears, different patterns in your life that you're not really seeing. It'll kind of show it to you, and then you have the opportunity to heal it and release it and integrate it. But it's done in a very cool way where like the shamans will play different music, and they can like have a read on the collective energy. So sometimes they'll sing songs that are very irritating, very like, oh my God, just shut up, please. But it's meant to like bring up all that darkness, and then they'll kind of like calm you down with some sweet songs, and it's kind of this like ebb and flow experience. But at the end, you feel lighter. You feel not always. It's a complex process, but it's generally it just accelerates the awakening and healing process in a very profound way. Does that answer your question? I know I could go.
I mean, it's a huge topic.
Yes.
And I've seen so many videos about it, and I find it highly interesting. It seems like this is coming more and more. More and more people are talking about ayahuasca, and it used to be very controversial, but now it seems like it's less controversial. But what I find or have heard again and again is it's so important that the shamans are really shamans, and that is done in a proper way, in a safe way. So like you said, like the shamans really can feel the energy of the room and be there to protect you. That's super important. So there are some people I've heard that have misused it in the world. So it's always good if people want to check it out, that you really have some testimonials and do a lot of research beforehand. I think that's just important to mention.
Yes.
And Rythmia is like really, really good, I've heard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What you said is very important. I believe it should be handled with utmost respect because it is extremely powerful. It's not really for everybody. Most people will probably feel called to it if it's relevant for them. They'll feel a resonance with it. And other people who think it's crazy, that's fine for them. It's just not. It's like anything. You go to a restaurant, and some dishes are attractive to some people, some are not. It's just not for everybody. But it does deserve a lot of respect because it's just very powerful.
Do you think that, or for you, did you open up much more after that, or have you been able to open up without, plant medicine? Because it seems like you do open up to, the spiritual forces, or you get a touch of divinity in a sense. But do you feel like we're able to do that without these plant medicines as well?
Yeah, and I'll kind of give an example. It's almost like I heard this on a YouTube video actually. It's like if you imagine like a big melt, like a big block of ice in the sun, it starts to melt slowly, right? That's like meditation. Ayahuasca is like coming up and taking an ice pick and busting open that thing all at once. So can you get there naturally? Of course you can. It just takes longer. It's faster, but it's also not sustainable with ayahuasca. You're blasted open, then you come back. Right. So there's value in that. You get to observe your life in a very unusually high state of consciousness, but I wouldn't pretend to even get close to that level on my own yet. Maybe in hundreds of years of meditation, I'll get to where I can live like that, and maybe sooner, I don't know. But there's definitely a difference. But can you get there naturally? Technically, yes, but it takes a bit longer. But when you do it longer, it's more sustainable. You get to really embody it. So it's not like one is better than the other. They're just different ways of going about it.
Very exciting. Okay, so back to more the natural way of doing it, or not natural, because the plant medicine is pretty natural, but more to what we can do with our emotions. I saw in a video you talked about a trampoline state or something. I've found interesting, because I always find it like intriguing to learn more about emotions and how to deal with it. We can feel low one day, high one day. We don't always know why we feel that way or that way, and it's very easy to judge where we are. I shouldn't feel like this. So what is this trampoline state that you talk about?
Yeah, so I talk about trampoline emotions, and that sort of is when you choose to look at your emotions as an opportunity. For example, like no one likes feeling bad or having a bad day or feeling depressed. But I find that when you're really feeling those feelings, if you can sort of look at them with more of an inquisitive mindset, like why do I feel this way? Why do I feel depressed? Instead of just judging ourselves, dismissing them, suppressing them, it's like look into them. What are you trying to tell me? Usually there's a lot of insight and there's a lot of healing that can result. And then you can sort of experience the trampoline emotion effect, where if you're having a really, really crummy day, as an example, and you look into that courageously, why am I feeling this way? What's the deal? When you go into that lower state, then you have the healing, the insight. You learn the lesson, and then you're shot up into a more expanded state, liberated from those emotions because they don't need to be there. Because they were just there trying to tell you something about yourself anyways. So it's more just a perspective shift on viewing your bad or negative emotions as an opportunity to heal yet another layer of the ego or whatever.
Yeah, and I've done some interviews lately that have made an impression on me when it comes to heavy emotions, that actually some dark or heavy emotions can be a true opening to a surrender that can lead you to a spiritual opening, actually. And it's really fascinating to me how people enter or have different spiritual openings through different doors, in a sense. That we are opened up in very different ways. That for some it can be through meditation, plant medicine, or just being in their emotions, like sobbing and letting go. So I think like it's really fascinating. I think it's, I don't know, like I'm not trying to find like an answer here, but I think there's something about letting go and accepting everything and letting go of resistance, like allowing whatever to happen, that in that something opens up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And sometimes I think that when you just let go and you stop resisting, sometimes what happens is you'll find yourself attracted to something, like whether it's ayahuasca or a breath workshop down the road or a yoga class. You'll attract yourself to the modality that'll work for that individual. And sometimes to like be in tune with that, we just have to kind of let go and surrender.
I have a feeling the more we surrender and the less we resist this period and the difficulties, is going to be much more smooth. That's like a really call for us to just like don't resist as much, just let it happen. But of course that's not easy because we have the ego that still wants to control things, and I find that in myself as well. But I think the more we can like really trust and let go and really trust what's happening right now, don't fight it as much, then the universe can do what it wants to help us with right now.
Yes, that's the thing right now. Another thing I talked about is that like if we can let go and again tune out of the drama, just come into ourselves, then we can feel like more tapped into our intuition, and then our intuition can guide us in wherever we need to go for that day, for that year. Our intuition will always lead us to the best possible case scenario. But when we're resisting, we cut ourselves off from the intuition. So it's like a conscious, repetitive sort of daily practice to like remind, at least for me, remind myself, no, let go, trust. And when I do that, then there's the guidance, and there's like the inspired idea, the magical like sort of feeling. It's always there if we can surrender to it. And
so it seems like you're surrendering to your book right now. So do you want to share a little bit about that, or is it a secret?
No, it's not a secret, but it's been a work in progress. It's like a lot of big things in life where I've written the first chapter a million times, and it's been kind of frustrating where trying to find the right title, and I'm being overly critical about everything I do. So I'm going through the whole like the rigors of being an artist type of thing right now. But it's coming along. I'm making time to write almost every day.
Wow.
And I know I'm on the right path. Even if I have to write it like 15 times before I get the right book, it doesn't matter. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do right now, and it feels good. My life, once I sort of yielded to this sort of new shift in my life, there's so much more peace and harmony, and just everything feels right for me.
Aww.
So, but what the book will be, by the time it comes out, I couldn't tell you.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Well, thank you so much, Victor. This was really inspiring, and it was interesting to hear that you have been going through that shift as well, and that you're actually opening up to that. That's great. You know, shifts are always hard, but when we let go, like you're saying, it's just so beautiful. Like it is. Like I think our divine will is the divine will. Like the divine will is, of course, what we really want inside. It's like the ego, the struggling, is saying, I don't want this, but deep inside, you are aligned with what the divine wants. And that has been hard for me to grasp. Like, I'm like, no, I don't want that. But of course, like the deeper within me want what the divine wants. So if I can just trust that,
Yes.
and just let myself be guided instead of like having my head telling that, no, I want this and that. No.
Yeah. So do you feel this in your own life as well? Like you're sort of playing out?
Yeah, like what I have appreciated right now is to have more time, because I have another day job, or not, it's actually a night job, an evening job, and all of a sudden they don't need me as much because everything is shut down. So I have all this time, and it's really nice because I've always been so super busy all the time. I feel like I don't have time to myself because I work all the time. And now all of a sudden I do have time to I started knitting the other day. And it was really nice to do a hobby, and I really wanted to do more of what I speak about is important for others. Like, do have rest, take care of yourself, and I do take care of myself, but not to the degree that I really want to. So today I found myself being able to meditate for like 45 minutes, and it was just so nice. Finally, to take 45 minutes to do that, like that has been something I haven't allowed myself for a long time, because my schedule is just not, it hasn't been room for that. But that's also an excuse, right? I see that now, that I've been like having all these excuses for working and giving service to others, but not giving that much service to myself. So that has been a huge realization for me. So in many ways, I'm very grateful for this, and it's maybe not allowed to say, but I found some good things about this. And I think more people will also, if they look for it, they'll find good things about this coronavirus. And I think it is important to look for what can I be grateful for right now, instead of going into fear. And it's horrible what people are going through, but still there are always something beautiful. So yeah, I've definitely found some things, and nice. Then I think it's about to bring that, into the future when things get normalized again, or if they do.
Yeah.
We don't know how the world is going to look like. Yeah.
Yeah. I found the same thing for me in my own life, piling on too much work because I think I need to. But what I'm realizing, though, is like less is more. Right. When I can like meditate for 45 minutes, as you said, then what I do per unit of time, it's going to be like way more impactful, I can be way more productive with less time because I'm being more efficient with my energy and always making sure I'm filled up before I do something. So it's been a big shift for me too. That's been something I've been going on in my own life. Is for years I was able to kind of just grind out my grind constantly, but I'm realizing that my body doesn't like that very much, and I, like you, have discovered, you know what, I need to kind of like scale back. But having done that, it's like now it's better. It's like we can be more tapped into spirit now, and then everything you do is inspired and has like a cumulative sort of effect. So we don't need to be so busy, is what I'm realizing.
Yeah, I realized that. And it's really interesting what you're saying because I've come to the same, like what you said in the beginning, like really make a deep decision on what you want to do and shifting things. I came to the same right after my breakdown. I had this huge like decision that I'm going to do this, but I'm going to take care of myself at the same time. So it was like this re-evaluation, this new shift, this new aha, this deepening of the process. So it was like almost like a new birth I felt for myself. So yeah, powerful times. Really a
It is, and
gift.
it sounds like you're right on track. I can just feel it for you. Like you're going deep, and you're doing a great job for where I'm standing.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, it was a pleasure to connect with you again, all the way, to Las Vegas from Norway, like very far apart. I've been there. I've been there once. Is it really warm there right now?
It's nice. It's like 65, 70 or so.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
All right, well, say hi to Aaron from me. He's doing
I will.
amazing
Yes.
work as well. I follow his channel and I follow your channel. Thank you so much for sharing and all the best with your book and everything.
Thank you. And it was nice talking to you again. And thank you for having me on. It's fun for me. I enjoy talking to you. And I'm happy to contribute to your channel. So all the best to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for watching, guys. Much light from Las Vegas and Oslo. Bye-bye.